Women are delusional in dating. I say this as a professional matchmaker and as a woman who lived inside delusion for 43 years. And there are many stories that I will share to illustrate this in service of truth and love. But we need to start with a statistic that knocked me out. So a little context first. As a professional matchmaker, people come to me with lists. Eventually, I hope we see that lists do not lead to love, but that is the trend. If I check off all the things on the list, I will find love. No, you won't. Anyways, that's another video. So women often had height, and can you guess the other one on the list? Financial security. And that range for them of what was tall enough or what was rich enough varied, but nonetheless, you would see it often. And I will tell you, no one ever said, I have a healthy, happy relationship because I'm with a tall, rich dude. Ever. Never. That is never the thing. Sure, if you like it, it can be a bonus. But let me tell you, you really need to look at that because here's the stat. Are you ready? If you are wanting a gentleman who is 6 feet tall or above and who makes over $150,000 or above, guess what percent of the dating pool you are dealing with? 1%. You've reduced all the men down to 1% left if you are looking for that. And let me tell you, that guy, that 1%, he has a lot of options. And so every woman thinks she's getting this guy. Wait, and that 1%, oh, this is the most important part. That does not include kindness. That does not include intelligence. That does not include emotional availability. That does not include physical attractiveness. It includes nothing that is important in actually making a relationship last. It doesn't include similar values. You've shrunk your dating pool down to 1%. And I'm going to tell you why none of this matters. But before I do that, we need to really let this sink in. And we need to remember this. This is very easy to forget. When you have a bad date or are struggling with anything in relationships, this statistic, once you understand more context, it will put it in perspective for you. So save it so you can refer back to it and share it with your friends. Because women, we need to wake up. 6 foot tall and 150K is not, it's not it.
When someone eliminates most potential partners based almost entirely on things like height and income, music, they're narrowing their options before they even get a chance to discover who those people actually are. 2:56. 2 minutes, 56 seconds. That kind of hyper-focus on surface-level qualifications can make people overlook the qualities that actually sustain relationships. Music, emotional maturity, consistency, mutual effort, and loyalty. 3:04. 3 minutes, 4 seconds. High standards aren't the problem. Music. The problem is when expectations become so rigid that genuine compatibility doesn't even get considered. 3:10. 3 minutes, 10 seconds. And when someone's dating strategy repeatedly produces disappointment. Music. It may be worth asking whether the standards are realistic rather than assuming every potential partner is the problem. 3:17. 3 minutes, 17 seconds. Choosing someone based on character, compatibility, and how they treat you, music, will usually tell you far more about long-term potential than a checklist of superficial requirements.
My husband's a very opinionated person, so I didn't really understand this until I realized that a pretty destructive pattern had taken place in our marriage, and it was this. If your husband has to be in agreement with you in order for there to be peace in your marriage, that is not love, that is control. Now, you can want to change his mind, but you can't make him changing his mind be the thing depending on whether there's going to be peace in your home, because what that is that's punishment, that's manipulation, and that's control. Communication is important. You should definitely voice your side. I believe in passionately trying to convince the other person to see your perspective. And you can even say you want to be understood. But if you say understanding is him being in agreement with you, and if you then punish him or withhold peace in your home, if he doesn't agree with you, then what that becomes is that becomes manipulation. And I have learned that men really value peace to the point that sometimes they'll just say, okay, and you'll think that what you have is agreement, but what you really have is a shut down husband who is no longer showing up as his full self in marriage. And then you get frustrated when you're like, well, why isn't he sharing his opinion? Why doesn't he tell me what he thinks? Because he's learned that it's not safe to share his opinion, and it's not safe to share what he thinks, because if you do disagree, you will punish him by withholding peace in his home. And he values peace in his home so much so that he will sacrifice himself to keep that peace. Again, you can want to change his mind all you want, but you can't make him changing his mind contingent upon whether you're going to bring peace or whether you're going to punish him and take it away.
Hearing someone describe emotional pressure and passive compliance inside a marriage. Music highlights a serious communication problem that can slowly damage a relationship. 7:16. 7 minutes, 16 seconds. If every disagreement is met with anger, guilt, silent treatment, or escalating drama until one partner finally gives in. Music, eventually that person may decide it's easier to stop expressing their opinions altogether. 7:25. 7 minutes, 25 seconds. But agreeing simply to avoid another argument isn't the same as genuine understanding. Music, it's conflict avoidance, and over time it can create resentment beneath the surface. 7:34. 7 minutes, 34 seconds. A healthy marriage should allow both people to disagree without one person feeling punished for having a different perspective. Music, otherwise, one partner may slowly withdraw emotionally just to maintain peace. 7:41. 7 minutes, 41 seconds. And once someone stops feeling safe enough to speak honestly, music, they're no longer fully participating in the relationship. They're simply trying to survive the conflict.
Are just mentally ill when it comes to dating, and someone has to say it, and well, it might as well be me. And I know this is going to trigger some of you, but this is straight up hypocritical behavior that needs to be called out. You don't want the nice guy, so instead you go for the toxic bad boy who treats you like garbage. You'd rather chase the chaos, the drama, and the challenge of trying to fix someone who clearly doesn't want to be fixed. We ignore the green flags from good guys because they feel boring or too available. Make that make sense. Then when the relationship crashes and burns, which it always does, instead of reflecting on the choices and accepting that actions have consequences, you run to your friends, run to the internet, and complain that there are no good men left. But the reality is, you literally chose this. You had options. You had the good guy right there, but he wasn't exciting enough for you. But a lot of you would rather find out the hard way. And while you're choosing drama and toxicity over genuine love and respect, those good guys get swooped up by women who actually appreciate them. You can't reject good men and then act shocked when you're left with trash. So let's just stop blaming all men for the type of men you keep choosing. The problem isn't that good men don't exist, it's that you don't want them.
When someone eliminates most potential partners based almost entirely on things like height and income, music, they're narrowing their options before they even get a chance to discover who those people actually are. 2:56. 2 minutes, 56 seconds. That kind of hyper-focus on surface-level qualifications can make people overlook the qualities that actually sustain relationships. Music, emotional maturity, consistency, mutual effort, and loyalty. 3:04. 3 minutes, 4 seconds. High standards aren't the problem. Music, the problem is when expectations become so rigid that genuine compatibility doesn't even get considered. 3:10. 3 minutes, 10 seconds. And when someone's dating strategy repeatedly produces disappointment. Music, it may be worth asking whether the standards are realistic rather than assuming every potential partner is the problem. 3:17. 3 minutes, 17 seconds. Choosing someone based on character, compatibility, and how they treat you, music, will usually tell you far more about long-term potential than a checklist of